not already implementing marketing, then you're pretty much missing the boat. That's kind of what I'm trying to illustrate here, where there are many different ways that brands can be implementing mobile into their marketing mix. And if you're not already and you haven't discovered a way, then you're kind of behind. And in the eyes of your consumers, you're kind of falling off the edge. So some quick stats. This year, for app revenue, it's suspected to be $25 billion. In 2018, it'll be 92. 85% of consumers prefer mobile apps versus mobile sites. Mobile web traffic is going to exceed desktop traffic this year. Mobile data is going to surpass voice, so that basically means we're going to be texting each other and sending each other links and memes and all that fun stuff versus talking to each other. In-app purchases will top $3 billion on tablets, $6 billion on smartphones by 2016. And the U.S., surprisingly, is no longer the leader in devices, but China is. And then, of course, a quarter of enterprises are looking to actually have their own app stores in the future to basically house their employee, consumer, business-facing apps. So this is just something I wanted to see if any of you guys can get this one right, actually. What do all these companies here have in common? If someone gets this right, I'll tell you the exclusive details to the secret after party. Any takers?
Their products are all data-based?
Similar?
They're all sharing rights stores.
That's true.
Okay, well, actually those are some very good points.
A lot of their marketing is like fan push. Like there are people who are enthusiastic about it, and that's kind of a lot of, even Disney. Disney's the one unusual one up there.
Yeah.
They're all based on enthusiastic users.
Okay, go ahead. One more.
So it'd be more on mobile than on.
Oh, it's very close. So I'll just let it go from there. The answer is that none of them were founded as mobile-first companies, right? Except if we go and look at the charts now, with NCAA being this month, basketball lovers out there are looking for their apps. It's a huge way to build brand awareness. Same thing with Vine. Obviously, Twitter makes them. They weren't founded as a mobile-first company. They were founded as a social company, but now they went off and created additional apps within the app ecosystem, and now they're building on their brand even more. We look at Wreck-It Ralph. That was a huge contribution to Disney's branding. If you just think about what they can do with this app alone in the App Store, basically, when Wreck-It Ralph came out, I think it was around Christmas time. So they had that app pushed to the top of the App Store, so all the people in the app ecosystem could see it. And then you think when they come out with the DVD, they can go ahead and do another burst campaign, push it back up there, so people are reminded again as they're looking on their devices at the apps to go, oh, maybe I should go buy the DVD, right? With Wipeout, obviously, it's a television show. Then we got, of course, Reuters, Skype, YouTube, and Twitter. None of them were mobile first, but they're clearly topping the charts. And these stats were pulled on Monday, so the charts change basically every single day. But still goes to show that despite the fact that they weren't mobile first, they're still benefiting greatly from mobile. And some of them even who are using, advertising or affiliate models to monetize are actually generating substantial income streams too. So the first thing obviously was, if you're not already on the boat, you need to start thinking about it. It's very critical to your brand, or if you're working for yourself as a consultant, then you should start showing how the people you're working with can use it. The second thing is really deciding, based on the budget that you have for your company, what type of mobile technology is right for you guys. So I'm going to go over a couple. Basically, as a marketer, we've all seen how websites have evolved from really a collection of links, some images, and a call to action to what's now a rich, immersive brand experience. Ideally, that's interactive, so when people go to the website, for instance, there's this company, a digital marketing agency that they go from grayscale to color and actually pop out just a little. So it's very interactive for the users to just go on there and be like, wow, this is a cool experience. So then, of course, how do you take that over to mobile? First thing is you can do nothing. I mean, technically, all our phones here can access the sites that are online already. The thing is that when that happens, obviously it looks horrible. The user experience is not optimized. You basically have a situation where you're on your phone and you're scrolling with your 2 fingers trying to zoom in and like shuffle around to what's going on. And it really just doesn't make for an ideal user experience. Yet alone, having that interface is not very, up to trends with things. So option 2 is make a mobile optimized site, which would be one that when people are looking at it, it's more easy to navigate, it's more easy to consume the content, it's more easy to understand what the brand's missions and goals are. Like I said, taking that rich, immersive, active website and making it down to the core messages that you want to get across to your brands with the idea in mind that it's going to be on a small screen versus a larger one. So assuming you go with option number 2, which is making a mobile optimized site, there are these things called native app wrappers. And Trigger.io is actually a very good one that allows you to basically take your mobile optimized site and have it basically convert in a way where you can publish and distribute it on the app stores. So Google Play or Apple, for instance, they use Java and then also Objective-C. And then if you really want to get into Windows or what's the other one? I think we're with BlackBerry. They only take 8% of the market share anyway, so no big rush there. Then you can go ahead and do that with a native app wrapper as opposed to just having a mobile site. You can have that distributed in the app ecosystem. So the number 4 option, and this I think is the best option, to go native, and this is basically creating your own application for your company's brand. There are some drawbacks, but obviously, you take the usability, the richness, and the coolness, if you will, and you mirror that depth onto a mobile application, and you build it from the ground up. It allows more interactivity, cool features. 2 examples of why you would want to use a native app versus a mobile site, or even a mobile site that's wrapped in a native app wrapper, is that when you build a mobile app from the ground up, you can actually utilize the full hardware of the phone that you're tapping into. So for instance, a retailer that wants to use the phone's camera to scan QR codes, right? A publisher, let's say Mashable or TechCrunch or Reuters, if they want to...
Reuters, honey. It's Reuters.
Thank you. If they want to enable you to save the things you're reading offline when you don't have access to the internet, then you can do that. So Google Translate actually just did that for their application. With over 50 different languages, you can now access it offline. So let's say if you're in China, then you don't have to be paying up the wazoo for connecting to the internet. You can just download all the languages and access them offline. So which one is right for your business? You really have to look at your brand, determine what your guys' budget is, see which one is most prevalent at the time. Obviously, I think building a mobile or a native app is best, but at the same time, you have to have a developer who's going to go and build it for each of those different programming languages. Moving on to number 3, basically getting started with this process, regardless of which option you choose, how would you go about structuring the organization to actually get this done? So number 1 is the 1-team model. This is assuming that you have a very structured team of developers, they're flexible, they understand the needs of your company's brand, but also they have the ability to think in different ways. Also more along the lines of mobile first versus having mobile as secondary or supplementary. Obviously, they understand mobile technology, your brand's challenges, your users, and they can basically transition their skill sets into creating that full experience. challenges are, like I said, if they don't think in the way of mobile first, then they can just think of it as complementary or supplementary, rather than understanding that really people are spending more time on their phones, maybe even using their tablets to film speaking engagements at places in San Francisco at a particular business school. Next thing is, like I said, they may grasp the mobile first concept. So number 2 is the in-source model. This is basically where you have some developers and you also have a team of mobile experts, and they basically can both work together to get the application done, rather than just one team who's focusing on the whole development of the application. Challenges for number 2. Sometimes when they're collaborating on these projects internally, there's obviously other organizational prioritizations that are atop these. So they may be pushed down to the bottom of the list, and they may just get to a point where they're never finished, right? And the thing is, I've actually, worked on some apps in the past myself as a developer. So the problem with that is when you're spending the time to develop an app, but you keep pushing the deadline off, is that there's changes that happen within the App Store and Google Play that can actually change whether or not your app will be useful at all. And if that happens, for instance, Apple made a recent guideline change that basically prevented developers from changing their screenshots whenever they wanted. And that was just kind of a bummer for a lot of them, because that meant that whenever they did an update, they could change their screenshots, but they couldn't just change it, for instance, if it was Christmas or something like that. If you do an update in the App Store, you basically clear your reviews. People have to go and put past reviews to see them, and that obviously lowers your social proof, and people are going to think, okay, this app only has 5 reviews, but really it's just the newest version of that app, whereas the past version had, let's say, 50,000. Model number 3 is the outsource model. This is where your team within the company understands everything they have to do to basically build that overall brand experience, and they work with the scenario team, and then basically a project manager or product manager will just go and find a third-party developer who they want to work with, and then help them, or actually collaborate with them to get the application developed. Some challenges obviously is when the third party is developing the application, they come back with, who's responsible for the bugs if issues are found, right? Obviously, there's some other questions here, but you want to make sure that your legal agreements are all in place. That way there's not any issues in the future of, say, there's an update and something goes horribly wrong and users can't even use your application. The development team should, I think, be held accountable for that stuff, just so it doesn't create any internal issues. So how do you decide? Very simply, number 1, if your organization has a very flexible development team, and when I say flexible, what I mean is they understand the brand's core message, they understand how to develop the applications, they also understand how the users are going to be using it, and they understand the idea of thinking mobile first rather than just having mobile as supplementary or complementary to the brand. Number 2, if your organization has a strong group of mobile-specific experts, then obviously the 2 teams are working together, the development team as well as the mobile team. And number 3, if budget is not an issue, but time is, then certainly outsource it, because they can probably finish it a lot quicker, and then they can just work with the product manager together and collaboratively. So, number 4, enterprise versus indie. This is actually more moving towards the marketing side. I wanted to make sure I gave you guys a lead up to where if you took this information on Monday, you could go and talk with your product managers. Are any of you guys product managers? Yeah. You guys can go and basically talk with the necessary people, your C-levels if need be, to get this implemented and get on the mobile bandwagon. So we're going to get into geo-target push targeted advertising, catching the bouncers, as I say, data mining, and then obviously SMS, which has really been around for years. Geofencing, this basically just means when you enter a certain geographical location, then you have a push notification that arrives on your phone. Maybe it's a promotion or a discount. Let's say if I was on Powell Street walking by Sephora and they could tell that I was 100 feet away, they may send me a push notification if I have an application or have their app that men's cologne is 25% off today at this location. I'll be like, oh, maybe I'll go check it out, right? Same thing, North Face is doing some very interesting things in their applications where when they can tell that, let's say it's going to rain today, it actually was supposed to rain today, and you're in San Francisco, then they can offer you a time discount of, let's say, 20% off umbrellas because it just started raining.
Wow.
Right? That's pretty cool. So, some examples. Another example is a health and fitness club. I actually been working with the club across the street for a while, trying to get this working for them. But they can basically have a geofence where when members arrive on their location, they can receive a push notification to view the schedule for that day, rather than having to go up to the front desk and be like, hey, what's going on today? Or if they have classes, they can also RSVP, they can register, they can even pay directly on the app. Having their contact and financial information already there without making it inconvenient to having to enter it with your thumbs because the company already has that information. Next thing would be a national franchise or chain could basically send region or city-specific notifications. This could be good also for bands who are touring, for instance, if they're going to different cities and they want to say, okay, we're going to be coming to San Francisco. Like, Skrillex, if they would have told it. Anyway, if they would have let, they can let more people know in specific areas just so those people that are there can go check it out. Geo-targeted advertising. I'm going to use the same example of the health and fitness club, where basically, let's say the health and fitness club across the street, their holding organization is Western Athletics Clubs. They have 11 franchises throughout California. So their user base, let's say, probably would be around 20,000 or more. If they could basically market advertising space to chiropractors and masseuses and sports therapists. These are people that are complementary to the members that are going to their club that they may be interested in. And it's a specific target audience that those people, those professionals, want to be reaching anyway. So it's really like a perfect match if you think about it. And by doing that, through creating that type of advertising, the company has now made an additional revenue stream. So catching the bouncers, this is basically when someone is going to check out your application and they have to go and fill out all the information that really, if someone gives me a 20-page questionnaire or a 20-question questionnaire, I'm going to be pretty reluctant to want to do that on my phone because I would just rather not do it, right? But it would be much more compelling if that information was already logged, if it was already there, if they took it from, let's say if it was Gmail, and they took it from my web account, and they already had my information there. So Seamless is the leading online food delivery service. They basically have, when you're in a specific location, they can detect where you are to say, like, instead of having directions to, they already know where you are, and you can just find where you want to order from, and they can just send it to you very easily. Data mining, obviously, when brands have access to your smartphones, as well as your data you have on it, they can see what's driving you away, what's keeping you engaged, really stuff that, as a traditional brick and mortar business, it's very hard to find out. The great thing about web businesses is that there's so many analytics available that we can track almost everything. Sometimes I think this is people going to overkill on it, but without doing that stuff, you really wouldn't be able to monitor any type of engagement. And it's great that now with mobile, even if they do have a brick and mortar business, if they have mobile integrated, they can monitor what's working and what isn't. SMS, we are all fairly familiar, I think, with SMS marketing. It's text message.
Short message,
Yeah.
What is that?
pager system.
Yes.
Messaging system.
Um,
Messaging system.
Yeah, so basically they would just send you texts after you texted them about promotions and stuff. So I was going to get into some stuff with indie developers here, but I think we're running short on time. But if you're an indie developer, then basically there's a bunch of different, do you have a question?
I'm interested in that.
Oh, okay. There's a bunch of different cross-promotion strategies. I think, you know, it's great being an indie developer, but also it's, you know, has its drawbacks because at the same time, you're not using the company's budget, you're using your own. So I guess some of the benefits would be that you can actually test things on your own without having to get approval from anyone else, versus with an enterprise, you have to generally talk amongst your peers and see what's going to be best for the company. But with indies, you know, there's a bunch of different cross-promotion strategies that you can implement. Yeah, I would love to get into like the best times to do burst campaigns. Just a quick note on that. Christmas time, between Christmas and New Year's, is known as Power Week. And that time, during that week alone, gets more downloads than the whole year. Okay, so last year, from December 2012 to January 1st, there was 1.2 billion app downloads with over 7 million device activations. So it's quite a bit. Yeah, Indie's independent app developer, right? They're basically a sole proprietor working for themselves.
Are those numbers you talking about, the billion specifically indie downloads, or is that?
No, that's overall. That Flurry just, you know, they track that for all the apps. But you know what's surprising is like the top 25 developers, I think they take 60% of the revenue. So, you know, it's kind of one of those things where once they establish the brand, going back to kind of what some of the things I touched on earlier, they can actually just use their network that they've established to push out more and more content and more products. Number 5 is, you know, with all that being said, there is actually, this is really just touching the surface of mobile. When you get into it, you know, there's so many companies now that are looking at not just like business to consumer apps, but also business to business and business to employee. So to me, whenever I think about these types of things, I always just think of everything is B2P, which is like, or P2P, which is person to person, because at the end of the day, you know, our lives and our decisions haven't been fully automated yet with algorithms, thank God. So there's a bunch of different things that, you know, any type of brand can integrate, and it's unfortunate we don't have the time to touch on all these right now, but depending on your type of brand, obviously, you know, you can take a look at this list here. Utilities, content, communication, engagement. These are all different types of applications that your brands could potentially be interested in developing for different uses. And then, of course, when you get into mobile marketing, you start to look at charts like this, where you know you're looking at like what's driving engagement and what will keep people coming to your app. Like getting that initial impression is very important. Obviously, 1 in 3 competitors are going to go be less likely to use the app, but also go to a competitor's app. Understanding how people consume video on mobile, this could be important for your content marketing, where you know if you understand like the times actually too, what time frames of video people consume more on mobile, then maybe you want to create more of that type of content and have it marketed or sent out only during the times that people are going to be on mobile, which, by the way, for tablets and smartphones, they're actually very close. They peak at 8 to 10 in the morning and then 9 to 11 at night. So then, of course, QR codes, you know, I've never been a big fan of them. Obviously, they're not mainstream yet, so.
So that last graph showed that the type of media that consumers are consuming on mobile devices is very specific.
Yeah, are you referring to this one?
Yeah. In other words, they're not just going to random websites and finding out about businesses. There is very specific content
Yeah.
that they're accessing on their mobile devices. And the corollary to that would be probably some content they're avoiding on mobile devices because it's not really set up to be consumed
Yeah, I agree.
Okay.
But, yeah, that's a good point, Robin. I've noticed a similar thing, and it seems to me like the rich content seems to be really good for a mobile device, especially things with audio or pictures, because it's not such a great screen for interacting. So if there's a lot in one thing, image or photo, it's more sticky or attractive because you don't have to like interact with it too much.
Yeah, I mean, in general, smartphone users will have less of a tolerance, for lack of a better word, to watch longer videos versus tablet users. And obviously, tablets are very similar to desktops, just given their screen sizes are significantly larger, unless you have an iPad mini or a tablet, as they're saying. Yeah, I agree. As far as having that rich content and going back to what you said, yeah, I mean, they're searching for what they want, right? If you're on your phone, you're usually on the go. You're not at your computer doing extensive research. You're just trying to find something very specific, which is why now, especially, not to digress too much, but App Store optimization is very important now, both in Google Play and in the Apple App Store, just because of what it can do for people's apps and how they're displayed in the rankings. I mean, with the update that Apple had to iOS 6, they basically changed their whole UI. They acquired a company called HULT, and now when you go on the Apple App Store, you just have those single cards, and you have to swipe 25 times to look at the 25th app, versus on Google Play, they still have it the old way, where you only have to swipe like once or twice, and you can go down to the 25th app. So discoverability is a huge issue in the App Store.
I was considering, like, thinking in terms of e-commerce, shopping, and then filling out that very long checkout form and stuff like that doesn't seem very well suited to mobile at this point.
So with that too, I don't think, to me, as a consumer myself, I would have practically
You wouldn't
zero.
use your mobile device to shop.
Yeah, I mean,
online.
well,
Some
no,
people
that's not
do.
true either though. I mean,
Okay.
there's actually a lot of people who buy things on their phone,
Okay.
and it's increasing, but I think yours is more specific, where you're asking, I think, are people willing to fill out those long forms, versus if they already have their account credentials on file, they just have to click buy or ship from Amazon. I think, it's a pretty big difference.
There's some, to give you an example of that, there's some app that I found, or somebody told me about, and it was Daily Deals, and they got in trouble because every morning they look at the Daily Deals and like, oh, that's great, oh, that's great, oh, that's great, and then all of a sudden, before they know it, they had like 8 things shipping to them, and it's like the price was, they were spending too much money, and they got in trouble, and
Oh, because the checkout process was too simple.
it was, you click the button and you bought it, right? So,
Okay.
you already, once you put your credentials once, it's too easy, right?
Okay, sure.
What's even more surprising is Apple actually just had to come out with a recent update because, like, kids were making thousands of dollars worth of in-app purchases,
Are you?
and basically now they warn on the top of the app, this app contains in-app purchases, right? Because basically these parents were getting like $5,000 bills, and they're like, one guy even reported his own kid for fraud. So I thought that was pretty funny. But yeah, that's kind of off topic. Never mind.
Well, thanks for the insight.
So yeah, I mean, one thing, just these last two graphs, the mobile share of emails, we all check our emails on our phones, and it's growing. But at the same time, if your emails that, let's say, your brands are sending out are not optimized, if the images aren't loading, if the text, if the spacing is messed up, then look, I mean, like 80% of the people are going to delete it, 30% are likely to unsubscribe. They'll probably take it as spam and, never want to hear from you again. So we're kind of ruthless in our own right. And then, of course, you get into things like looking at the mobile LumaScape, just about all the publishers, marketers on the left, consumers on the right. So there's quite a bit to talk about in this industry. I find it very fascinating myself. I'm always reading things like, TechCrunch and 9 to 5 and all those things. Yeah.
Your question,
So, I'll just close out, you know, there's another way